Chapter 33. Vendetta. Anticipation ran throughout Sierra as she followed behind Carter down the road. The thought of capturing the two trucks with supplies was all she could think about at the moment. She believed that if the Chinese thought it important enough to ship in large containers and distribute by trucks, then it was important enough to take from them. To her right, Sierra kept Timmy in sight, happy to see that he could handle the motorcycle with ease. Katie had insisted on being behind the passenger side machine gun, leaving Carter to drive and Steph on the upper gun. Without formal military training, Sierra felt that this was the best attack formation for what vehicles they had at their disposal. Nearing the point they would be fully committed to, Sierra rested the barrel of her rifle between the handlebars with her left hand, while working the throttle and steering with her right. Before the trucks were fully in sight, she could hear gunfire coming from Blankenship in the woods. A few seconds later, she knew Katie had to be getting the surge of adrenaline she so desired as her finger caused the machine gun to scream. Katie's burst of fire was followed closely by Steph on the upper gun. Carter slowed the rat to allow them to fire the weapons more accurately, but never coming to a complete stop. Sierra accelerated around the rat and headed for the far side of the trucks and cargo containers with Timmy following closely behind. Sierra fired her rifle from the motorcycle the second a soldier, who had been using the truck for cover, came into sight. Finding it difficult to ride and fire, she stopped the motorcycle just inches from the front of the large cargo truck, allowing it to lie against it as she jumped off. As she did, Timmy flew down between the trucks, firing his rifle from his left hand. Having just seen the number of soldiers who were taking cover there, Sierra wanted to scream for him to stop, but knew it would have been of no use over the rifle's firing. Quickly, she worked her way around to the front of the truck and began firing the second the first soldier came into sight. Before she had realized it, the bolt on her rifle locked open, and more than a dozen Chinese soldiers lay dead on the ground. To her amazement, Timmy was not among the dead. Where the hell did he go? Sierra thought as she swiftly replaced the empty magazine with a full one. After releasing the bolt to chamber a round, she fired it into one of the soldiers still moving. "He would have died without the extra bullet," Timmy said from behind her. "I am a humanitarian, what can I say?" Sierra shrugged her shoulders before asking, "How the hell did you get here?" "Laid it down when I rounded the front of the truck and saw all the soldiers. The momentum took me under the truck onto the other side. Could never get that lucky again." Timmy laughed until he remembered that Blankenship liked the bike and that he had just crashed it. Hearing the rate of fire drop to almost nothing, Sierra moved quickly to the rear of the truck and looked inside. Having lowered her weapon and only concentrating on the cargo, not the fight, she found herself staring up at a soldier pointing an AK-47 at her from a few feet away. Shit, Sierra thought, instantly doing the math on how long it would take to bring her weapon up and the time it would take for the soldier to pull his trigger. The math was clearly not in her favor, but as she watched, a section of his head turned into small fragments scattered on the side of the cargo truck. She relaxed. Directing her sight to the woods where she had left Blankenship, she could almost hear him say, "Now we are even." Though he was much too far away and most likely hadn't said anything. With the rat coming to a stop alongside the cargo trucks, Katie jumped out with a big smile on her blackened face, dirty from the machine gun she fired and the one firing above her. Without hesitation, she took off around the perimeter with her Ranger-proof rifle at the ready, and Steph close behind. With every corner they turned, all they found were dead enemy soldiers. Katie was thankful to have the area clear, but at the same time sad because it meant the excitement was over. "Damn, we really burned it down quick," Katie stated to Sierra, finishing her trip around the perimeter. Seeing Blankenship moving in from the woods and with Katie having finished her search, Sierra began grabbing the dead soldiers' gear, mainly weapons and ammunition. Throwing the weapons in the truck, she began instructing the others to do the same. "Grab weapons and ammunition first. We take what we can and move out in 5 minutes. That was a hell of a lot of noise, and there is no telling who will come to investigate." I knew I liked this girl, Blankenship thought, as he had already begun picking up rifles and loading them into the truck. After having Timmy help load the motorcycle he had wrecked, Blankenship climbed into the cab with Timmy. Sierra remained on her motorcycle in the lead, with Katie, Carter, and Steph bringing up the rear of the convoy. Sierra was happy she had followed her gut feeling on the situation, and that they had listened to Bottle. Sierra had already decided not to take the trucks all the way back to the tunnels until they could be sure nothing on them could be tracked. They were, however, going to park them just a few miles away and make all the trips necessary to bring the supplies safely back to the new base of operations. The sun shone through the trees, and Sierra could feel it warming her face as she rode along, happy with what they had accomplished. With the rhythm of the motor, she began to think of when she was younger, back when Robert would take her for rides on his dirt bike. Even with it being less than 7 years ago, they felt like memories of a life borrowed from somebody else. Lost in thoughts of the past, she felt that life would never come close to being what it once was. With a sudden tremendous explosion that almost shook her from the motorcycle and sent vibrations throughout her skeleton, Sierra struggled to remain in control of the motorcycle. With the locking up of the brakes on all vehicles, they watched as a Chinese fighter roared by overhead. Everyone in the convoy had thought it was the end, and at any second they would be engulfed in fire. Panicked, Sierra waved her hand for the convoy to keep moving and follow her as she sped down the road. How the hell do we fight that? She asked herself, not having any knowledge of what to do when chased by a fighter jet. Coming to the conclusion there was only one thing to do. Sierra pulled off at the first valley she came to that would be able to hide the large cargo trucks. After spinning tires and smashing into a few trees, they managed to get all the vehicles deep into the woods, making them almost impossible to spot from the air. "We need to keep moving!" Blankenship shouted from the cab of his truck. "Calm down, Blank. They can't see us," Sierra responded from her motorcycle, looking up and listening for the jet to return. Jumping down, Blankenship ran to the back of his truck and pointed at Timmy to come over and help him. Swinging up into the back of the tall truck, he pulled a pocket knife from his pocket and began cutting the ropes holding his motorcycle in place. With Timmy standing at the tailgate, the two began unloading it while Blankenship stressed his thoughts. "You don't get it. They aren't going to come after us on foot. They will level the entire area, and we don't want to be here when it happens. They almost killed me with artillery twice, and I'm not sticking around here to let them try for a third time." Almost on cue with the end of his sentence, thunder erupted far off in the distance. Recognizing the sound on a sunny day, Blankenship looked at Sierra as he started the motorcycle. "Make that 3 times,"